The drama surrounding heavyweight boxing has always been about more than just punches. It's about legacy, fear, power, and the quiet, building storm before something explosive happens. And on this night, under the unforgiving lights, two different paths began to collide. One carved by experience, the other by raw, rising inevitability. From the moment Jermaine Franklin Jr. stepped into the spotlight, there was a sense of unfinished business hanging over him. Known as the 989 Assassin, his record spoke of resilience, 53 victories, 2 defeats, and a reputation forged through grit rather than hype. He wasn't just another heavyweight. He was a man trying to remind the world that he still belonged in conversations where power decides everything in seconds. Across the broader narrative of the division, however, another name had begun to echo louder with each passing fight: Moses Itauma. Undefeated, calculated, and increasingly unavoidable. He wasn't just winning fights, he was dismantling opponents. The contrast between the two fighters wasn't just stylistic, it was generational. Franklin represented the hardened road, the kind that forces a fighter to learn through punishment, through rounds that stretch longer than expected. Itauma, on the other hand, moved like a storm that hadn't yet been fully understood. Quick, precise, and disturbingly calm for someone carrying that much destructive potential. Early exchanges in Franklin's battles revealed exactly why he had survived at this level. There was chaos in his rhythm, but also intention. A sudden right hand, a sharp left to the body. Moments where both fighters would trade in tight spaces, neither willing to concede ground. Mouthpieces flew, sweat scattered under the lights. And yet, both men remained standing, absorbing punishment that would break lesser fighters. But beneath that action was something telling. Franklin had to work for everything. Every punch cost him something. Every exchange carried risk. Meanwhile, as the narrative shifted toward Itauma's rise, the tone of the story changed entirely. When he entered the ring, there wasn't chaos, there was control. A measured pace. A deliberate advance. He wasn't rushing, and that was what made him dangerous. Observers had already begun whispering about him. Even Tyson Fury had labeled him as the future of the division, a statement that carries weight in a landscape defined by giants. Around ringside, experienced eyes watched closely, including figures like Alexander Usyk, men who understood exactly what they were seeing. Because what Itauma brought wasn't just power, it was sequencing. He didn't throw punches randomly. He built them. Head, body, head again. A jab to measure distance, followed by a sudden shift in levels. Opponents found themselves backed against the ropes, not because they were pushed, but because they were guided there. And once they arrived, the pressure became suffocating. There was a moment, one of those moments that defines a fighter's aura, when Itauma opened up with a combination that perfectly illustrated his approach. He moved forward, not recklessly, but with layered intent. A shot upstairs forced the guard high. A brutal punch to the body folded the defense inward. And then, just as the opponent tried to reset, another clean strike pierced through. It wasn't just aggression. It was architecture. Across the ring, fear began to show, not dramatically, but subtly. A hesitation. A slower reaction. The realization that nothing being thrown was stopping the advance. And then it happened. The referee stepped in. Not because of a single devastating knockout, but because of accumulation, because one man was taking too much without giving enough back. It was a stoppage born out of inevitability, not surprise. That's what separates prospects from threats. While Itauma's dominance painted a picture of the future, Franklin's journey continued to unfold in a very different way. His fights were wars of endurance. Against opponents like Vargas, he showed flashes of that same explosive capability, landing right hands with enough force to change everything in an instant. And when he connected cleanly, the effect was immediate. A sweeping right hand. A follow-up combination. And suddenly, the fight was over. Knockout. Franklin proved he still possessed that raw finishing ability, the kind that can erase mistakes and rewrite narratives in seconds. But even in victory, there was a sense that the division was evolving around him. Because fighters like Itauma weren't just winning, they were accelerating. As more footage emerged, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Itauma's fights rarely extended beyond the first round. Opponents came in prepared, cautious, aware of the danger. And yet, within moments, they found themselves overwhelmed. A left-hand counter here. A short, sharp right there. Every punch landing with precision. One opponent stepped in on short notice, barely having time to prepare. It didn't matter. From the opening bell, Itauma established dominance. The jab found its mark. The counters came effortlessly. And before the round could even fully develop, the referee was already watching closely. Another sequence. Another clean shot. Another collapse. First round stoppage. Again. And again. There was a rhythm to it now, not in the fights themselves, but in their endings. A growing sense that no matter who stood across from him, the outcome would follow the same script. Inevitability had become his signature. But what made Itauma truly compelling wasn't just the knockouts, it was the composure surrounding them. After each finish, there was no wild celebration, no uncontrolled emotion. Just a quiet acknowledgement, as if he expected nothing less. That mindset is rare, because in heavyweight boxing, power can make anyone dangerous, but control is what makes someone elite. Meanwhile, Franklin's longer fights revealed another layer of the division's reality. Against more durable opponents, bouts stretched into later rounds. Fatigue set in. Adjustments became necessary. Strategy mattered just as much as strength. In those moments, Franklin showed his experience. He worked the body. He stayed active. He found ways to win rounds even when the fight wasn't going perfectly. But the contrast remained. Where Franklin had to navigate adversity, Itauma seemed to eliminate it before it could even begin. And that's where the real story lies, not in a single fight, but in the trajectory of two careers moving at very different speeds. One is trying to hold position. The other is rapidly advancing toward the top. As the heavyweight division continues to evolve, questions begin to surface. How long before these paths cross? What happens when experience meets inevitability? Can durability withstand precision? Can resilience overcome calculated destruction? Because eventually, the rise of a fighter like Moses Itauma demands answers. And when that moment comes, it won't just be another fight. It will be a test of eras, of philosophies, of everything that defines heavyweight boxing. For now, the highlights and knockouts tell only part of the story. Beneath them is a deeper narrative, one that continues to unfold with every punch thrown, every opponent faced, every round survived, or not. And if what we've seen so far is any indication, the future of the heavyweight division isn't just approaching. It's already here. So the real question is, who's ready for it? If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep, story-driven boxing content, let me know your thoughts. Do you think Itauma is truly the future of the heavyweight division, or does someone like Franklin still have more to prove? Drop your opinion below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more high-quality fight narratives like this.